The hot Texas sun beat down on the SWAT training yard. Vanessa Miller stood in line with 20 men. She was the only woman there. The men kept looking at her and whispering, "Where are you watching from today?" Drop a comment below and hit subscribe to see more stories of amazing underdogs. Lieutenant Rogers, a tough man with a permanent frown, called out names from his clipboard. "Next up, Miller." When Vanessa stepped forward, one of the men stuck out his foot. She tripped and her gear scattered across the ground. The men laughed loudly. "Maybe stick to office work, sweetheart," Rogers smirked. "Some things just aren't meant for everyone," another instructor added. "Women like you should stay in dispatch. Leave the real work to those built for it." Several men pulled out phones to record her. As Vanessa picked up her gear, her jacket shifted, showing a military medal in her pocket. Her cold, focused eyes met Rogers for just a second. The lieutenant hesitated. They thought they were rejecting just another ordinary woman. But they had just humiliated the wrong sharpshooter. Vanessa Miller was 34 and lived in a simple apartment in East Austin. Her place was basic except for one locked cabinet she never opened when visitors came. As the daughter of a math teacher and a nurse, she grew up with quiet determination. After college, Vanessa had served 8 years in the Army. Her paperwork just called her a logistics specialist. For the past 3 years, she'd been working as a 911 dispatcher for the Austin Police Department. During a school shooting incident, her calm voice guided an injured officer to make a tourniquet while she coordinated backup. This impressed Captain Reyes, who reluctantly recommended her for SWAT training. The police department included her mainly to meet diversity requirements from the city council. Everyone knew the stats. No woman had ever completed Austin's SWAT program. Most quit by week 2. What Vanessa's application didn't mention was her real role in the military. She wasn't just in logistics, she had been a marksmanship instructor for special forces. After losing a female soldier to friendly fire due to poor training, she promised herself she would help fix tactical training standards. "I left violence behind when I hung up my uniform," she told her sister when applying for SWAT. "I wanted a quiet life helping behind the scenes. But these walls won't fall unless someone confronts them directly." Every morning, Vanessa woke at 4:30 to work out before her 6 a.m. dispatch shift. She ran 3 miles through her neighborhood, then did strength training in her home gym. This discipline kept her focused as SWAT training got harder. Her apartment walls were mostly bare except for 2 photos, her parents at her college graduation and her military unit in Afghanistan, taken a week before the ambush that earned her medal. One morning after the first week of SWAT training, Vanessa stopped at a cafe for breakfast. A group of officers sat in the corner. Detective Parker was telling a loud story. Rogers says to her, "Miller, if you can't handle the gear weight, how are you going to drag a 200-pound man out of a firefight?" Should have seen her face like a deer in headlights. The table burst into laughter. Then Parker noticed Vanessa standing by the counter. The laughter died awkwardly. She paid for her coffee, nodded politely, and left without a word. Rejection came from all sides. Detective Parker found Vanessa's application on the chief's desk and laughed out loud. "Vanessa Miller, the dispatcher? You're kidding, right? She flinches when we clean our weapons in the break room." At first, her fellow dispatchers seemed supportive. But Vanessa overheard them in the parking lot. "She's making us all look bad with this SWAT fantasy, like dispatchers aren't important enough." When she tried to practice at the department range after hours, she found it suddenly booked whenever she planned to use it. The message was clear: stay in your lane. The training instructors were even more direct. Captain Reynolds, a former Marine, assigned her faulty equipment during exercises. When her radio failed during a critical exercise, cutting her off from the team, he just shrugged. "Equipment malfunction, Miller. In real life, that's a dead team. Start over." Male candidates received immediate replacements for any broken gear. During demonstrations, Sergeant Hayes deliberately used her as the bad example. "See how Miller creates a larger target with her hesitation? This is exactly what gets officers killed." During a grueling exercise in the heat, Vanessa had to carry a 40-pound battering ram the whole time, while the men took turns with the heavy equipment. Hours into the drill, she adjusted her grip for a moment. Hayes immediately yelled, "Miller's compromising the entire operation." In real life, that hesitation means civilians die. Later in the locker room, she found her water bottle emptied and refilled with salt water. She poured it out, drank from the fountain instead, and never mentioned it. In the 3rd week, Police Chief Wallace called Vanessa to his office. Deputy Chief Morris stood by the window. "Miller, I'll be straight with you," Wallace said. "This isn't about gender. It's about capabilities. SWAT can't afford weak links when lives are at stake. They talked for 20 minutes about her valuable contributions, before offering her an administrative job instead, basically filing paperwork for SWAT operations. You'd be integral to the team, Wallace insisted, just in a capacity more suited to your strengths. Vanessa sat perfectly still, feeling the metal in her pocket. With respect, sir, I'd like to complete the training program as outlined in department policy. Every candidate has the right to attempt qualification. Wallace's expression hardened. Policy is one thing, Miller. Reality is another. As she left the office, she heard Wallace mutter to Morris, "Get me the qualification standards. See what we can adjust." The rejection spread outside the department when a local news station ran a story titled, "Controversy at Austin PD, Should Standards Change to Accommodate Female SWAT Applicants?" They never named Vanessa, but the footage clearly showed her in training. The next morning, Vanessa found a child's plastic tiara taped to her locker with a note, "For our diversity princess." She removed it without comment and prepared as usual. During the morning briefing, Rogers announced, "Today's exercises will follow the original standards. We don't lower the bar for anyone regardless of external pressures." His emphasis on original standards, and his look at Vanessa made the message clear. They thought she wanted special treatment. The irony wasn't lost on her. They were already changing the rules, just not in her favor. During the official assessment in Week 4, Reynolds announced new parameters with a thin smile. "New departmental standards," he said, looking directly at Vanessa. "Chief's orders. The minimum time for the obstacle course decreased by 30 seconds. The required pull-ups increased from 5 to 12. The shooting qualification suddenly required fast weapon disassembly and reassembly, not in the original standards. When male candidates struggled, instructors offered tips and encouragement. When it was Vanessa's turn, they walked away, already marking expected failures. Despite everything, Vanessa completed each new requirement. She forced out the 12th pull-up with gritted teeth. She finished the obstacle course with 3 seconds to spare. The weapon disassembly surprised her, but years of field maintenance had prepared her. With each test she passed, the instructors looked more frustrated. They had expected her to fail. Through all this, Vanessa stayed composed but increasingly alone. In her car after brutal training days, she would sit in the parking garage, gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. On the worst days, she called her sister, "I'm not sure it's worth it anymore, Sarah. Maybe I'm just proving their point." Her sister responded firmly, "The day you quit is the day they win, Van. And it's not just about you anymore." She was right. Vanessa had started getting emails from female officers in other districts who had heard about her struggle. They were watching to see if the door could be opened. Final qualification week arrived. Chief Wallace and department heads came to observe, unusual for a standard qualification. Reynolds gathered the remaining 12 candidates, Vanessa still among them, and announced, "The department has arranged something special for our final shooting qualification. This course was designed by military special forces consultants, multiple targets, varying distances, position changes and stress factors. This separates the real operators from the wannabes." His eyes lingered on Vanessa as scattered chuckles ran through the group. One by one, the male candidates attempted the course. Some did well, others struggled. Hayes kept praising good shots and offering immediate advice after mistakes. Vanessa stood quietly at the back, mentally rehearsing the course, showing nothing on her face. As the last male candidate finished with the best score of the day, Rogers glanced at Vanessa with a smirk. "Miller, you're up. Last chance to show us what you've got." As she stepped forward, Rogers loudly added to another instructor, $10 says she doesn't hit half the targets." The area fell silent as Vanessa approached the starting position. She checked her weapon, her movements precise despite a slight tremor in her hands. Her eyes remained focused, scanning the course. The targets were positioned at challenging angles, some partially hidden, others at distances that had caused even the best shooters to miss. Chief Wallace leaned forward, genuinely interested for the first time. As Vanessa prepared, something in her changed subtly. She closed her eyes briefly, and those standing closest might have seen her lips move in what looked like a silent prayer. When she opened her eyes, there was a new clarity and focus. She reached beneath her collar and removed a worn leather cord with a military medallion. She kissed it briefly before tucking it into her pocket. The gesture triggered a memory. She was back in Afghanistan, lying perfectly still in a sniper position. Her spotter spoke quietly into his radio. "Miller just broke the course record. 3rd time this month. Command wants to know if she's using some kind of enhanced scope." The memory faded quickly, but something of that determined soldier remained in her expression. The buzzer sounded. Vanessa moved. Her first 3 shots hit center mass with mechanical precision that silenced the whispers. But it was her movement that caught everyone's attention, fluid, economical, nothing like the hesitant progress they'd seen during training. She transitioned between positions efficiently, like someone who had done this hundreds of times. No wasted motion. No uncertainty. Every shot landed exactly where she aimed. When her weapon unexpectedly jammed halfway through, a suspicious equipment malfunction, she cleared it in seconds without breaking her rhythm. The final target, positioned at an almost impossible distance for a handgun, received her last bullet directly through its center. The timer stopped. Complete silence fell over the range. The time flashed on the scoreboard. She had beaten the previous best score by 12 seconds. Accuracy, 100%. Reynolds checked the scores twice, his face pale and confused, before confirming the results with a tight nod. For several long moments no one spoke. The male candidates who had been so vocal in their criticism now stared in disbelief. Rogers was the first to break the silence. "Where did you learn to shoot like that, Miller?" His voice carried a mixture of shock and emerging respect. The other instructors moved closer, suddenly interested. Vanessa ejected the empty magazine and safed her weapon before turning to face them. Her voice was calm and clear. "Army marksmanship instructor, 5th Special Forces Support Team. I trained the people who designed this course." She holstered her weapon with practiced ease. "My full military record was in my application file. I assumed you'd read it." The simplicity of her answer made its impact stronger. She hadn't been hiding her abilities, they had simply never bothered to look beyond their assumptions. Chief Wallace stepped forward, his earlier dismissiveness replaced by curiosity. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" Vanessa met his gaze steadily. "With all due respect, sir, I was told this program tests what we can do, not what we say we can do. I wanted to be judged by the same standards as everyone else." She paused, then added quietly, "Besides, in real operations your credentials don't matter. Your performance does." The chief had no immediate response, but for the first time he looked at her as a professional rather than a problem. Behind him, several male candidates exchanged uncomfortable glances, reconsidering their own behavior. Reynolds stood with his clipboard clutched tightly, looking as though the ground beneath him had suddenly shifted. By that evening, videos of Vanessa's shooting qualification had spread through private messaging groups among officers. By the next morning, someone had leaked footage to the local media. The same news station that had questioned female SWAT candidates now ran a different headline: "Former military elite breaks SWAT course record." A reporter dug into Vanessa's military background, uncovering commendations never mentioned in her police file, including a Silver Star. During an ambush that left her unit pinned down, she had provided covering fire that allowed the evacuation of 3 wounded soldiers, despite suffering shrapnel injuries herself. City council members who had been silent during her struggles suddenly called Chief Wallace about the department's inclusivity. The police union, which had previously ignored complaints about the treatment of female officers, issued a statement celebrating the department's commitment to recruiting the best qualified candidates regardless of gender. 1 week later, Chief Wallace held a press conference. With cameras rolling and reporters filling the room, he announced Vanessa's acceptance into the SWAT team with practiced enthusiasm. "Today represents a historic moment for our department. Officer Miller's exceptional performance demonstrates our commitment to excellence above all else." What he didn't mention was the emergency meeting held the night before, where department legal counsel outlined the discrimination lawsuit they would face if they rejected her after such a public display of superiority. Behind the scenes, an anonymous tip to Internal Affairs revealed that Lieutenant Rogers had altered application requirements specifically for female candidates over the past 3 years. By the end of the month, Rogers was reassigned to desk duty, a public demotion that sent a clear message. Though Vanessa never confirmed it, many suspected she had been the source of the information. In truth, she hadn't needed to be. Once the spotlight of public attention focused on the department's practices, multiple officers who had witnessed the discrimination but remained silent now found the courage to speak up. Captain Reynolds awkwardly approached Vanessa after her first official SWAT team meeting. His earlier hostility was replaced by professional courtesy tinged with embarrassment. "The department could benefit from your experience," he said, avoiding direct eye contact. "We'd like to offer you the team leader position for marksmanship training." The position would have given her authority over many who had belittled her, a chance for vindication. Vanessa considered the offer for only a moment before shaking her head. "I appreciate that, Captain, but I'm here to be part of the team, not run it. Let me earn their respect first. During her first few weeks on the team, reporters sought interviews about the discrimination she had faced. Each time Vanessa redirected. Every department has room for improvement. I'd rather focus on the work ahead than dwell on the past. She refused to cast herself as a victim or her colleagues as villains. Instead, she quietly met with HR to establish new training protocols that would ensure fair treatment for all candidates. The changes were implemented without fanfare, presented as operational improvements rather than corrections of past wrongs. Gradually, the teammates who had once mocked her began to approach for shooting tips, which she provided without mentioning their past behavior. Detective Parker, who had laughed at her application months earlier, stopped her in the hallway one afternoon. "I was wrong about you," he finally said. "Most of us were." Vanessa simply nodded. "Let's make sure the next woman doesn't have to break records to be taken seriously." She walked away before he could respond. Vanessa established a mentorship program for female officers interested in tactical positions. When a senior officer questioned whether this created special treatment, Vanessa invited him to observe a session. "I'm teaching them to exceed the standards," she explained as they watched women practicing advanced shooting techniques, "not asking anyone to lower them." 6 months after joining SWAT, Vanessa responded to her first critical incident, a hostage situation at a downtown office building. A former employee had returned with a gun, trapping 14 people. As the team prepared, Vanessa noticed a detail in the building plans that others had missed, a service corridor that would allow a single officer to flank the suspect. "If we create a distraction at the main entrance," she suggested quietly, "someone could approach from behind through this passage." The operation went exactly as planned, with the hostage-taker surrendering after finding himself suddenly vulnerable from behind. As the team debriefed afterward, Captain Reynolds acknowledged her contribution publicly. "Miller's tactical assessments saved lives today. That's the standard we all aspire to." For Vanessa, this professional recognition meant more than any public accolade. It was acceptance based purely on merit, the exact equal treatment she had fought for. Female officers from other districts began reaching out about the SWAT qualification process. 2 more women joined Austin's tactical training program the following cycle, neither facing the barriers Vanessa had encountered. When a new male trainee made a negative comment about one of them, his fellow male candidates shut him down immediately. "That kind of talk doesn't work here anymore." A year after her qualification day, Vanessa led a training session for new recruits, both men and women. The department's diversity had notably improved. As she demonstrated a tactical room entry, the recruits noticed the medallion now proudly visible around her neck. One brave recruit asked about it after the session. "It belonged to a friend," Vanessa explained, touching it briefly. "She died because someone on her team wasn't properly trained. Every time I teach these techniques, I'm honoring her memory." During a break, she noticed a female recruit looking uncertain after struggling with a technique. Vanessa approached her privately. "The hardest target isn't on any range," she told the young woman, adjusting her stance slightly. "It's breaking through barriers that people insist are there for good reasons." The recruit looked up, grateful but still hesitant. "How did you not lose it when they treated you so badly? Everyone knows your story now." Vanessa smiled slightly, considering her answer. "Because the fight was never about proving them wrong," she said finally. "It was about proving what was right." She watched the recruit practice the corrected technique, now hitting the target consistently. Excellence doesn't need to announce itself. It just needs to persist until it cannot be ignored. True strength isn't measured by how hard you can hit, but by how long you can stand when everyone expects you to fall. Vanessa Miller hadn't just earned her place on the SWAT team, she had transformed what that place meant for everyone who would follow. Would you have the courage to stand alone, knowing your struggle might open doors for others? Let us know in the comments below.